This one's going to be a little bit of a longer one. For anyone who wants to learn improv fundamentals just as how I would teach it in class. If you're focused on D&D or other TTRPGs, consider these approaches for when you get into roleplay scenes. A lot of the basic fundamentals apply, though of course you'll have some elements already established, like your character, and likely specific objectives and expectations. Whatever you already have, you can consider those elements already taken care of. One less thing to worry about. And the other fundamentals are what you should be focused on. Whenever I talk about improv or improvisation, I want to first establish that you know how to improvise. You've been doing it all your life, right when you wake up. You decide in the moment if you're just going to lay there for a minute, if you're going to hit the snooze button, if you're going to get on your phone and scroll a bit, or jump right up. You might have a plan, and that may motivate you to do something routine. But when you don't have something already set up, or if you stray from that path, you're improvising. You're deciding on the moment, in the moment, and that's all improv is. It just gets harder because of the concept of improvisation as a performance. If you want to make someone laugh, or if you want to be entertaining in how you interact in a moment, or if you simply want to take action boldly with a desired outcome. Our expectations and fears make improvisation feel difficult. And that's why people take classes. People do exercises. We stretch the comfort zones so that we can make those moments where we have those expectations and fears feel easier. We're aiming so that we can treat them with the same ease as making a split decision when you wake up, to change the pressure so it no longer inhibits you but instead gives you energy. So the moment becomes beneficial instead of suffocating. Speaking of beneficial moments, please, if you find value in this, leave a like, subscribe, comment something you want to learn when it comes to improv. It really helps me out. Thank you for your support. The process takes time. You can speed it up by doing more, but not everyone has the time and resources at hand to do so. But the point is, there's not one piece of advice that will change you from being scared of improvisation to thriving in it. There's not one motivational speech I can give you that will suddenly change you from inexperienced to seasoned. It's a continual process, and you get better each time you try it. But don't think that you'll try once and become the best. Each time you give it a shot, you get better. When you succeed, and when you fail. So let's talk about the basics of a moment. A scene, if you will. In class, the easiest way I begin is to get 2 volunteers. They're the brave ones who are taking the risk of trying something before they know what they're in for. But don't worry, we'll take care of them. I start by removing a bit of accountability from them. What? Remove accountability? That feels weird. Yes, but there's a reason for it. If I tell you to go on stage and do something funny, then it feels like you're the one being judged. You're the one bearing your soul, showing us something that we think is gonna be funny. That's pressure I don't want to subject a newbie to yet. So I remove accountability by getting elements that they don't have to come up with themselves now, so they don't feel like everything is on them, that the judgment is solely on them. Who are these two to each other? What's their relationship? How do they know each other? We begin with 2 characters that have some history. They know each other. Why? Because out of the entire history of human interactions, the amount of interesting ones that involve strangers meeting for the first time is much lower than those you've met already. It also lets us cut to the chase a little bit. How many moments do you want to watch where the first minute is, "Hi, I'm Jeremy. Hi, I'm Celine. What do you do?" In a typical scene or moment, we usually only get 2 or 3 minutes. It's hard to get to the super interesting bits if we always have to go through the bit of small talk and introduction. Not to say that we never meet strangers in a moment, but there's a lot more possibility when they know each other already. We also get to play more weird or absurd if the characters know each other. What do I mean? Simple. Say you're at the mall. If someone random you don't know comes up and says, "I think they're watching us," the natural impulse is to leave for most of us. It's to get away, because that's kind of a wild thing for someone to say to you who you don't know. Unless they happen to be breathtakingly attractive, perhaps in a debonair suit a la James Bond. Most people are gonna be like, I gotta go. But say this is your best friend or a family member. When they say, "I think they're watching us," you're more inclined to stay there. You have a reason to stay, and you need to figure this out. So that's why we start with a relationship. I get this from the crowd, so the 2 players in the hot seat don't have to take responsibility for it. One less thing to worry about. They're co-workers. ears. Now here comes the game part. This element gives us some fun. I have player B cover their ears so they can't hear what player A says. Player A, what do you want from your coworker? What's something a coworker might want from their coworker? This is where we get our objective. This is the roadmap that gets the player active. I stress that when it comes to these wants, it can be simple like, I want you to give me the expense report, or complex like, I want you to be proud of me. But it has to be specific to the other person, and we stress that. For example, say we don't make it specific. Say it is just about the expense report. Could you hand me that report? No. Okay, I'll get it myself. Now we got our objective. What do we do now? Are we done? If it was just about the expense report, then yes, we can leave. We got what we wanted. But that's not super interesting or fun to play, is it? So if we choose something simple, we have to add something to make it about the other person. I want them to give me the expense report because I have seniority, and I want them to recognize that. I want them to follow my direction. Now we're getting somewhere. Now I have player A cover their ears, and player B gets to come up with what they want. What might you want from your coworker, player B? I think I want them to go out with me. Like a date? Yeah. Great. Now both players can hear again, and before we start, I ask them each to name the other person. You're Tom. You're Sarah. I emphasize having each player name their scene partner because of what we talked about with accountability, but it extends to allowing the players to make bolder choices. Because if I know that I'm being Tom, I'm more willing to say things and do things that I might not be so comfortable with if it's not clear that I'm not Matt. I might be afraid of being judged. So the naming allows you to have that actor shield. Like how you might think of Heath Ledger as being incredible as the Joker, but you wouldn't say that Heath himself would have done or said what the Joker would do or say. So the players are free to play. Y'all are co-workers. You know what you want from each other. Go after it. And I want you to consider for a moment. If you were player A and you want the expense report because you want them to recognize your seniority over them, for them to follow your orders, how you might do that? What tactics might you use? Sarah, how are we doing right now? Now from player B's side, you want your fellow character, Tom, to go out with you. How might you process that question from your point of view? I mean, I think we're a pretty good team, don't you? In both cases, we're aiming for what we want. But of course, we need to respond and handle what's being thrown at us. The rest of the scene itself might look something like, yeah, but I mean, specifically, how's our spending doing? I think we could spend a little more time together. I don't know if we have the budget for overtime. I'd happily volunteer to work on something with you outside of work. Really? Volunteering would definitely help us cut costs. Is that something important to you in a woman? Yeah, but it's about the whole package. It'd be nice if there was a report that showed everything. I'd love to show you everything. And I'd probably call scene there. Pretty short, hopefully the players had fun. At this point, I want to talk about why I keep the objectives a secret. Because at the end, I query both of them. Player A, what do you think player B wanted? I think Sarah wanted to get in my pants. Basically, she wanted you to go out with her. Player B, what do you think player A wanted? Fiscal responsibility? Pretty much. What was it, player A? I wanted you to give me the expense report. Now, the first two players don't know that I'm going to be asking them to figure out what the other person wanted. But now it becomes a game too. Everyone from here on out is going to be trying to figure out what the other person wants, while they're going after their own want. What does this accomplish? Listening. When the game is to figure out the other person's objective, you really start to pay attention to what they're saying. And if you're paying such close attention, you're hearing and you're listening well. Listening is huge when it comes to improv. Every little word, every little phrase, every tone, every movement. All these things give you so much information. So the game of figuring out the want motivates everyone to listen better, and it makes you less worried about being funny, about being a good performer. Of course, in comedy improv, we want to be funny. We want to be good performers. But if you're worried about it, it makes it a lot harder to be it. It makes it harder to focus on your objective and listen to your partner's objective. So the two elements of going after what you want and figuring out what your partner wants help push away those worries, those fears. Additionally, the idea of having a hidden want gives the audience a fun game too. We all know what the deal is, but the players don't. And so accidentally stumbling into the perfect response ends up being funny and fun for the people watching. Like when you know there's a surprise for a friend and you have to keep it under wraps. So that's how I start teaching people improv. I run people through scenes, through moments. They've got those key elements taken care of for them and they get to play. If you wanted to try something like this in D&D, all you have to do is assess the following. Okay, how do I know this person? What's our relationship? What do I want from them specifically in this moment? What tactics am I going to use to get what I want? What does it seem like they want from me? and then you can go from there. So a similar scenario might be, my character's a scoundrel. He tries to steal from the rich and give to the poor. The NPC is a wealthy noble, someone who's interested in hiring us. I want him to give us a lot of money for the job. My tactic is going to be to stress the danger, the perils of the work, and how the NPC's very livelihood might be at stake. And then we figure out what it seems they want from us in the interaction, depending on what they seem to value, whether they want company, status, information, or more nefarious dealings to give them a leg up on their competition. We find that out, probably through some insight checks. It might look something like this. Duke Fairwood, you want us to risk our lives for the mission. I don't know if you've made your way into the Forbidden Kingdom before, but not a lot of people make it out. You're heroes, aren't you? Isn't that what you do? Risk your lives? Yes, but even heroes want to live, to survive, and we want to bring back your heirloom. So what are you suggesting? Maybe you could slide us some gold up front, so we can make sure to bring it back in one piece. And DM, does it seem like he has a particular affinity for looking wealthy or something? Insight check? 23. Yeah, you'd see that he seems to have a penchant for extravagance. He wants to be seen as wealthy. He wants to be envied among his peers. Okay, Duke. Perhaps if you could give us payment up front, we could bring back more than your family heirloom. More? His eyebrow raises. He's intrigued. Yes, I hear there's jewels and baubles, artifacts in the Forbidden Kingdom that have not been seen anywhere for centuries. Oh, he looks excited. That would certainly show the Viceroy who's boss. Yes, it would. So if you could give us payment up front, we could get a bigger wagon, and who knows what a bigger wagon might fit. So hopefully that helps. Whether you're aiming to learn improv to build confidence, to perform on stage, or to roleplay a little more at the table, that's how I start. Set yourself up for success with objectives, listening, and tactics. If that was valuable to you, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment so the almighty algorithm knows. Until next time, stay safe and take care.